and it was on Rawlins's shoulders that they sobbed their hearts out when their babies were taken from them. Rawlins seemed to have an intuitive understanding, talking for hour upon hour with these distressed girls. She also had the same quiet patience with the drug offenders. 5 years into her sentence, Dolly Rawlins proved an invaluable inmate. She kept a photo album of the prisoners who had left, their letters to her, and especially the photographs of their children. But only the calendar was pinned to the chipboard on the wall of her cell. Nothing ever took precedence over the years of waiting. She would always receive letters when the girls left Holloway. It was as if they needed her strength on the outside. But usually the letters came only for a couple of weeks, then stopped. She was never hurt by the sudden silence, the lack of continued contact, because there were always the new inmates who needed her. She was a heroine, and the whispers about her criminal past only grew. Sometimes she would smile as if enjoying the notoriety, encouraging the stories with little hints that maybe, just maybe, she knew more about the diamond raid than she would ever admit. She was also aware by now that the mystery surrounding her past enhanced her position within the prison pecking order, allowing her to remain top dog without fighting or arguments. After 7 years, Rawlins was the big mama, and it was always Dolly who broke up the fights, Dolly who was called on to settle arguments, Dolly who received the small gifts, the extra cigarettes. The prison officers referred to her as a model prisoner, and she was consequently given a lot of freedom by the authorities. She organised and instigated further education, drug rehabilitation sessions, and, with a year to go before she was released, Holloway opened an entire new mother and baby wing with a bright, toy-filled nursery. This was where she spent most of her time, helping the staff care for the children. For Dolly, who had no visitors, no one on the outside to care for or about her, the babies became her main focus, and began to shape a future dream for when she would finally be free. Dolly Rawlins did have those diamonds waiting, and if they had been worth $2 million when she was sentenced, she calculated they now had to be worth double. Alone in her cell, she would dream about just what she was going to do with all that money. Fencing them would bring the value down to around $2 million. She would have to give a cut to Audrey, Shirley Miller's mother, and a cut to Jimmy Donaldson, the man holding them for her. She would then have enough to open some kind of home, buy a small terraced house for herself, maybe in Islington or an area close to the prison, so she could come and visit the girls she knew would still need her. She contemplated opening the home specifically for the children of pregnant prisoners, who she knew would have their babies taken away. Then they would at least know their babies were in good care, as many of the girls were single parents, and their babies might otherwise be put up for adoption. This daydreaming occupied Dolly for hours on end. She kept her idea to herself, afraid that if she mentioned it to anyone, they would know for sure she had considerable finances. She did have several £1,000s in a bank account set up for her by a lawyer, and she calculated that with that, a government grant and the money from the gems, the home could be up and running within a year of her release. She even thought about offering a sanctuary for some of the drug addicts who needed a secure place to stay when they were released. And a number of the women inside were battered wives. Perhaps she could allocate a couple of rooms for them. The daydreaming relieved the tension. It was like a comforter, a warm secret that enveloped her and helped her sleep. But the dream would soon be a reality as the months disappeared into weeks, and then days. As the ringed date was drawing closer and closer, she could hardly contain herself. At last, she would have a reason to live. Being so close to newborn babies had opened up the terrible secret pain of her own childlessness. But soon she would have a house full of children who needed her. Then she could truly call herself Mama. They all knew she would soon be leaving. They whispered in corners as they made cards and small gifts. Even the prison officers were sad that they would lose such a valuable inmate. Not that any of them had ever had much interaction with her on a personal level. She rarely made conversation with them, unless it was strictly